website right now and download my free course on alternate picking mastery. It contains 5 essential exercises that will take you to alternate picking mastery faster than you can imagine. And then I've included my method of how to lay out a practice plan in just 1 to 2 minutes that will absolutely boost your results like nothing you ever tried before. So go download it right now. It's free. Hey, this instrument has some challenges, and the reason why I'm doing this video is because when I started out, I had played some drums. I started taking drum lessons. I quickly leave that, and then I started playing guitar. So I never really learned another instrument. I never discovered how another instrument really works before I took up this one. And therefore, there were some things that are really difficult on a guitar that I didn't realize why we had that challenge, and nobody told me about it. And in order to explain what I mean, let's just take jazz as an example. Even though you're playing metal, rock, pop, doesn't matter. But jazz is such a good example because in jazz, you have 7 chords in a key, right? And you have to know where the chord tones are. So you have a 7-note scale. And if you use the cage system, you have 5 different scale shapes across the neck. So let's say we're in C major. Then you have these 5 different shapes. You have to know where they are. And then from there, you must know where the arpeggios within that scale are. And there are 7 different arpeggios. At any given time, you have to know where these notes are. If you don't, it's going to sound weird. And what I just played here was a result of knowing exactly where these chord notes are. And then we modulate. Then we go for another key, which is another major scale. So the whole thing freaking moves, right? And then we go to minor and change the major scale into a harmonic minor scale. It's just, but on a piano, if you take all the white keys, right, learning the arpeggios is really easy because it's just every other note from each note in the scale. And then you have to learn all 7 or 12 different keys and the arpeggios, which are every other note. But it only looks, once you've learned all 12 keys and all the arpeggios, it only looks in one way. On a guitar, you have the ability to move things. You move scale shapes and arpeggios like this, and then it changes key. But if you just had to say, you hold your hand here and then play any key, any scale, and then any arpeggio within that scale, that's an enormous amount of information to master, to be able to do, because everything looks different depending on where you play it on the neck. So, and when I started out, I had this okay, I need to be able to play any key. Wherever I'm holding my hand on the neck, I want to be able to play in any key, in any arpeggio, at any scale, harmonic minor, melodic minor. And that was just like a mountain of information. And so I looked into these jazz books and I saw that, okay, how do you approach this, right? And Joe Pass had an interesting system that really tells us a lot about the challenge of this instrument. And he said, okay, whenever I'm learning a new way of playing a chord, and there are millions of ways of playing chords, right? You can learn chord shapes starting today, and then you won't be finished when you die. That's because there's a never-ending way of fingering any chord. On a piano, there's only one. You have the notes. Yeah, this is an octave on a piano. And if you do a chord in that, you could take this note and put it on the top, but it's still the same freaking notes, right? It just repeats itself. It's the simplicity of it is enormous. The complexity of this is also enormous. So you can do the same chord in multiple different ways and start, learning a minor 7th flat 5 and just start learning chord shapes maybe because we have a lot of them. And you can create your own as well. And you tap up here and then whatever, right? But so Joe Pass, he created a system to say, okay, if I learn like a minor 2-5-1 progression in C minor, for instance, then I learn the scale shapes and the arpeggio shapes around these chords. So I can go, right? Right, so I can go, so I can really, if I can play the chords, then I can improvise around them. Then he learned some new chord shapes and say I can also play up here on the neck. So he basically built all his improvisations over chord shapes, which is a genius way of doing it. But my ambition was to say, I want to be able to play any arpeggio in any scale across the neck, no matter where I am. So I wanted to be able to go down here, and then bam, I wanted to, okay, D flat minor, fine. And then bam, just totally, like, because I came from rock, right? We have one pentatonic scale. We start out with that, and that's really, and then you just get used to, I know my tools, man, that's easy. It takes some time, but, and then I wanted that same freedom when things started modulating and all kinds of, and you have to find the arpeggios, and that was just a huge task. That huge task became modal mastering, which is a specific way of taking every 4-note arpeggio within the scale and then laying it out as a 2-1-2 pattern. And then, and then suddenly you could I could, go within any scale, any major scale, minor scale, and then I could play every single arpeggio, and then I had a specific training system for learning that and then moving from key to key, which is a pretty big task, but it's an exciting one because suddenly you have the same freedom as on a piano. But I'm just saying here that you are playing an instrument that has that challenge, and be aware of it, so you don't say, okay, I must be stupid. Like, how are there so many chord shapes? But, well, the chord shapes you look at in your book of 2,000 chords is not the only ones. You can do another 2,000 if you want to. So it never ends. So sometimes you have to be focused and willing to limit yourself and say, this instrument is made from, you have a piece of wood, you have 6 strings, and sometimes we don't play that much on the lower strings up here, for instance. We don't. If you look at your guitar, it'll be worn out here on the top strings, right? And then and you don't bend necessarily the D string and the 14th fret that much, but you bend the G string is really. I really like the B string and the G string when it comes to bending, and in this way, there's certain things that are really cool on a guitar, and sometimes some that are not. If you take the blues scale, the minor pentatonic scale, then I really have two shapes that I really like to phrase in, and the others like. I like the first position blues scale shape, and I like the, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fourth. But the other ones, I like to pass through them, but I don't like to stay there for long. And you should be able to play any lick in any place on the neck. That's my ambition. That was my ambition anyway. But then as time went by, I just come to terms with the fact that this is a unique instrument. And sometimes there are places on the neck you like the better. There are chord shapes you favor. And you just have to accept that. Or you can go all the way and say, wherever my hand is placed on the neck, I want to be able to play any chord, wherever, and with any extension. That's a nice ambition. Good luck with it. Takes you a couple of years probably, but it's a cool, project. But just know that this instrument is a challenge sometimes compared to other instruments, which has one note in one place, and that's really the main reason why you have the E here, but you have the same E here. But you have it there. Right? So you have the same freaking E in 4 or 5 different places on the neck. And the same thing goes for all the other notes. That's why everything can look in multiple ways across the neck. So be easy on yourself if it looks like a huge challenge sometimes, because it really is. It's the best instrument in the world, I think, because it can do the most things. You have the most control over your tone, and you can even influence it with effects. And you can carry it around, it becomes part of your body. It's an amazing instrument. And it also has its, challenges. Just be aware of those challenges so you don't go crazy about them, but you utilize the instrument and you really focus on that it's okay that you can't do everything everywhere on the neck like you can on a piano or a saxophone or so many other instruments.
Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.